as I said, I sort of finished my formal cello studies when I was 19 and started my formal vocal ones when I was 30. Then all of a sudden in that decade I learned loads about playing the cello, and I thought I could play anything. I know it's a brazen thing to say, but that's what I thought. And then suddenly studying singing unlocked a whole other world of possibilities. A lot to do with kind of effort levels somehow, and a kind of honesty about those, because obviously if you get to the end of the first act of something or other and you're already knackered and you've got the the second act on its way, things aren't that pleasant. I think with an instrument, often that kind of overworking, you can get away with a little more perhaps with at least for a certain period. And so I reappraised my approach to the cello a lot in the light of all of those sorts of organic things that I learned through singing. You know, I used to go down to the basement, and over a sort of a 2 or 3 day beard growing process, I would manage 5 minutes of singing and playing music and storytelling and come up bleary-eyed with a long Russian Orthodox beard and say I've managed 5 minutes. Playing the cello would often tire my voice out, so there was something about them, the folds articulating at the same time whilst I was playing, even if I wasn't singing. And so when it came to combining them, there was a sort of third bit of my brain that I had to access somehow. Intonation's quite challenging, especially being a lower voiced person, because we're occupying the same territory. You know, if the cello line is going somewhere and the vocal line is going somewhere else, often early on in the learning process they want to align themselves, or I find they do in what I do. What I enjoy about the singing and the storytelling alongside the cello is that I can be doing very elaborate cellistic things that aren't the focus of the experience. The least interesting thing about cello music and the cello environment for me is the cello playing. Obviously to a geek it's interesting at some level, but in terms of a fabulous night out with amazing music, I don't want to be told about anyone's technique. For instance, I want to, of course, not notice it at all. It's a show called Tommo Foggo Superhero. It's a one-man interactive musical epic for 7-year-olds and their adults, and it's about a boy that was left at the bus stop by his mum who never came back. It's got a heavy heart, but also a lot of hilarity in it. During the show I'd noticed there was a woman right in the middle of the stalls who was looking apoplectic with worry throughout the show, and I was curious as to what was going on. A man in the front row with 3 children, I was doing a bit of a Q&A after the show, he said, let me introduce you to, was it based on a true story, first of all, he asked me. And I said it was, and he said, let me introduce you to 3 lost children. And his 3 children were foster children, and the woman in the middle of the stalls was their social worker, who had not quite clocked the copy in the brochure about it being about a boy that was left at the bus stop by his mum, and she was really quite worried that this story was going to bring up lots of unnecessary and rather painful stuff. But we had an incredible discussion after the show, and it was really powerful. It did the thing that maybe a lot of good art does, which is, you know, engage with the world and with people and with life.